Who are you?
Trick or treat.
Guys, there's something very important that we need to talk about before this podcast starts.
I'm scared. What is it?
That Rock's chosen warriors must rule the apocalypse.
What is the content?
Trick or Treat is coming out in 4K, motherfuckers! Woo!
All right,
Finally!
yeah.
Finally!
Yeah.
Casey's been waiting for this day since he was born,
Oh
before
my-
they made Trick or Treat.
God, I love this movie so much. Okay, so Synapse Films is doing this. There's going to be a documentary involved. It's going to be in 4K. This is great. I have a hunch we're going to see it on streaming services before it comes out, and you might end up seeing it on Shudder or some shit before then, but that's just a hunch I have.
Yeah, this just really came out of left fields, but as soon as I saw it, I got the scoop before Casey somehow.
I was asleep.
Casey's also not on Twitter anymore, so...
Yeah, but I also
if you follow down in the
kind of
discs.
turn off all my notifications around 8 and just read. I've been reading a lot of
Ooh, that sounds so
Richard
nice.
Lehman, which is great.
Man.
Some of the books are great. Some of the books are very much not. And yeah, so I didn't see it until the morning, and I'm like, oh, holy shit. It was announced on some podcast that I've never heard of. So Us is a podcast that you've never heard of is confirming what the other podcast you've never heard of has said by saying it is real because Synapse Films also they also announced it on their Twitter. So it wasn't just some podcast. It's confirmed. It's coming. We're good. And I bet it's because all those shirts sold so well. I bet if all the shirts didn't sell so well, this wouldn't happen.
Yeah, Fright Rag just dropped another, Kiss-inspired Sammy Kerr shirt, I think.
Yeah, that was for Record Store Day, and they wanted to get in on that. I heard nobody's record store ordered the Macho Man album, by the way. It was out there, but no store wanted to carry it. Which, if you ever listen to the album, there's a reason for that. It is all on Spotify. You can hear it there. But we're not here to talk about Macho Man Randy Savage today, unfortunately. We are here to talk about witches.
Witches, bitches.
Welcome to another Mishable podcast, Horror Decomposed. Everyone, my name is Zach. With me, as always, Professor Casey, the Criterion one, Kris Pistol.
I do my best to fill things.
Happy halfway to Halloween.
Oh my
all our
god.
listeners.
Oh my
Or
god.
as I call it, happy longest point between two Halloweens you can possibly be at any time.
I love that Casey looks at it as a really bad thing. Even though it means we're closer to the next Halloween, he sees it as the worst thing in the world.
We're 6 months from last Halloween, 6 months from this Halloween. We're not close to anything. We're the
Would you
farthest
rather
we could
be
possibly
10 months from the next Halloween just because
Yeah, because that means Halloween was 2 months ago. Yes.
Yeah, but it means the next one is 10 months further out. I mean, it also means it's like Christmas. But
Exactly. I'm probably off work if it's 2 months from Halloween. Yeah.
I think we're in a much better spot now than in February, for instance.
I don't know. We, here
I don't know anything
on
new.
Another Miserable Podcast, we celebrate Halloween year round, so it makes it even more meaningless. We did go to a cool event though, so we can talk about that later.
We can talk about that later, but it is our second edition of Witch Month or Witch. I guess
Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me.
scared the shit out of me. This is coming out in May, so I just want to apologize for that. But it's still Witch theme month. It's still Witch Month, so.
Now, also, if you want us on time, pay us.
See, a witch cursed us is what happened, and she said, "Guys, this episode isn't going to come out in April."
Yeah,
Aw.
she put us in the fucking camel clutch, and then made us walk around like a horse. It was weird.
All right, guys. So we have a really interesting one today. Should we just jump right into it? Is that what we should do?
Sure.
Come on, let's go.
All right. This is our feature scare today.
We're gonna do what this movie didn't do and jump right into it.
Приведите Вия!
Скоро смотрите новый фантастический фильм «Ви».
We went back and forth again on what we should cover this week, and we ended up on V, or Vi, V.
It's
I think
V.
it's V.
It's V. They pronounce it.
This is a Russian-Soviet horror film. Came out in 1967, directed by Konstantin Yershov and Georgy Koprashov.
Oh,
Yes.
Georgie.
And it's an adaptation of a story of the same name by Nikolai Gogol.
Yes, and Gogol's a big deal. And so if you've heard of the band Gogol Bordello, named after him, he's a very big deal because he used to sneak Ukrainian culture into Soviet literature. And this movie is doing the same thing, basically.
It's a very
Very
interesting.
big deal in the Soviets.
Had any of you guys, either of you guys, read this short story before we? Seen the
Absolutely
movie?
not.
I've heard it referred to. I didn't. The way I heard it, though, was more like, I don't know. It felt like Scandinavian legends when I had heard it before. Mostly because there's very different depictions of what V's supposed to be. And the one I read made him sound more like a troll. Yeah.
That's kind of what he is in the movie.
Yeah, if you, actually the movie, there's like a 1900 image of V that they just did his whole look from that. It's like exact to this engraving that was in one of the original printings of the book. And but he's also the Grim Reaper sometimes. Like he's like referred to as Death. So like, yeah, the version of the story I saw wasn't like that. I don't even remember where I saw it referenced or where I read it, but I've seen the tale before.
Oh, yeah, you're probably talking about the black and white painting, the really sick black and white drawing of
Yeah.
this creature V.
Yeah, if you Google it, it's
Which we find out like next to nothing about like his origin in this film.
if you Google V God and it's spelled VIY, you'll get some stuff. There's also a lot of statues that are clearly a dick. Like, go ahead and so Kris, Zach, Google V God, VIY God. Okay,
Listeners, join us on this Google journey. Google
Yeah,
V God.
tell me how many dicks are in the top row of your image.
Oh
search
my
right now.
God.
Oh my dear God.
They are. He is not lying. They're Nomi phalluses.
But the first picture there is what I'm talking about. Okay, so even Wikipedia uses it as their main image for V. But look at that image, the very first one in the upper left-hand corner of your search. That is very accurate to what we saw in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know where the phalluses came from.
I don't know. Maybe someone sculpted a dick as a joke, and they're like, "Oh shit, we're gonna get in trouble. We better make this look like a dude."
They weren't ready for the phalluses.
See, like if you look at from like a side profile here in one of them, and this like dude has like a whip, but like he just looks like a shaman or something with really long hair. But from a frontal view, it's clearly a penis.
Yeah, it's actually an art style of these statues. They all kind of look like dicks that this person's doing.
It's the hairstyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a little veiny.
Yeah, this is
You got to be a
penis-like.
little veiny.
No, but there are a lot of really cool images of V if you do a Google image search that are not related to the movie, that are showing him more as like a god of death, and it looks cool as fuck. Which I'm saying because eventually you do get to see some cool as fuck shit in this movie. It just takes an hour and 8 minutes of the hour and 16-minute runtime.
It's interesting to me because this is a short story I wasn't familiar with, but there's so many like adaptations of it and very loose adaptations of this story and riffs and TV shows. So one of the other movies we actually talked about covering, Black Sunday, Mario Bava's Black Sunday, is also loosely based on this movie. Reading the plot synopsis of Black Sunday is very different from this.
Yeah, but I can see
what a
the
coinky dink.
influences from the movie totally, because it
Yeah.
is like a dead witch tempting somebody.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of the riff there. But one of the most interesting adaptations of this is like a remake of this that came out in 2014. It's called V3D.
Oh.
It's filmed mostly in, I don't think it wasn't initially filmed in 3D, but they went back and shot like the remainder of the film in 3D. But it's known as Forbidden Kingdom in the US. Listeners, if you are listening, look up Forbidden Kingdom 2014
It's
and
Forbidden
check out.
Forbidden Empire, Zach.
Is it? It says okay. Forbidden Kingdom in the UK. Sorry, Forbidden Empire. Look up Forbidden Empire. Look up the trailer. Came out in 2014. It looks bonkers. I think you can actually watch the movie on YouTube. I think the whole movie is there, as is the movie we're talking about today. But it's directed by Oleg Stepchenko, very loosely based on V. But if you watch this movie, you will see familiar
Images make it look like it's like a CGI, like cut scene from a video game.
They tried to turn it into like an action adventure. They combined like the story of V with like a famous. Oh gosh, what is this guy's name?
How does this guy keep getting Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger for his movies?
They combined the short story V with like a famous cartographer sort of named Jonathan Green, or based off that character is based off a famous cartographer or something. So they kind of tried to turn it into like an Indiana Jones sort of franchise essentially. And
Maybe all you
Yeah.
have to do is ask, Casey.
Yeah, there's more movies in this series. So like, there's another one called Iron Mask that has nothing to do with Count of Monte Cristo.
yeah, the character in the movie is based on a real person named Guillaume Levoisier de Beauplan, which I'm sure I got 100% correct, who was the first to study the Ukrainian territories and their people and culture. Anyway, so they made this action horror Indiana Jones style 3D movie called V that looks nuts. And then they made a sequel this movie that came out in 2019 featuring Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger that looked like they were
that's Iron Mask. Yeah.
called Iron Mask. So if you look up that trailer, that is a sequel to this 2014 V.
If you want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a colonial looking dude with a 3-corner hat and a big handlebar mustache, you kind of have to see this.
It doesn't look quite as cool as the 2014 one, but it's pretty funny because Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger were clearly in it filming like one location and one like action
And they
scene.
made Jackie Chan look like Shang Tsung, old man version of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, and that is V2 Journey to China. Rutger Hauer is in that as well.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
I really expected you to say V2 Electric Boogaloo.
That's what it should be. There is a third one that's supposed to be coming out this year called V3 Travel to India.
And there's also a nothing to do with the TV series. We just have to be sure to tell everyone that. There's no lizard people ripping off their faces and no visitors. No Robert England.
There is a whole like series called Gogol V or something that I think is a Russian show. Anyway, okay.
Okay, so
Now we have to actually talk about the movies.
So that was the V wormhole, but let's get into the 1967 adaptation, which is the most famous one.
Yeah, apparently if you go to seminary school, you're a shitty person with an Edgar haircut.
Yeah,
I
everyone
mean,
in this
Yeah, you pretty much
everyone
nailed it.
Everyone in this movie has a bowl cut, and I just want to say, like, if that's a prerequisite for getting into seminary school that you have to have a bowl cut, I'm like out immediately.
I mean, that's
Well-
pretty much all the rednecks who end up going to seminary in the South. That's pretty much what they all look like.
Here in SoCal, the Edgar haircut is very popular among teens right now. unironically. And they do get this haircut, and I see it very frequently.
Oh my gosh. It's the same thing with like the Friar cut, which is the bowl cut, but like bald and your
Right.
head. Well, who would sign up for that? Why is that like a necessity to be a friar? Or whatever?
I don't know.
Gotta
Samurai
be
have
perks that we
worse
don't know about.
haircuts, so like, I've been watching a lot of samurai movies.
Did
on
they
and
though?
off.
Worse
Yeah.
haircuts than the friar?
To where you're shaving it into like fucking male pattern baldness on purpose, it's pretty bad.
Just with his mustache, I just kept picturing him. I mean, just like take away the robe, put some like overalls and a Pabst Blue ribbon in his hand, and he looks like he'd fit right in an Arkansas.
I just love how crazy they go, and the way that they show them being crazy and wild and free is they start milking a goat.
Yeah, it's basically like the monk version of Animal House at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, like a bunch of these students with bowl cuts get released, and they get to just rampage through this little town and steal chickens and maidens and and milk.
Oh yeah, they kind of gloss over what is very clearly sexual assault happening in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Implied.
Like, oh, that's what
I
Woody
imagine.
Allen was talking about when he said his grandmother was too busy getting raped by Cossacks.
Oh no, these aren't the Cossacks. The Cossacks are the ones that they hang out with when they go to the village.
I was gonna say, but he keeps saying the whole movie, a Cossack is afraid of nothing.
Oh, that's true. He
He
does.
keeps referring to himself as a Cossack.
Interesting. He doesn't get the cool haircut like the other dude. The other Cossack haircut is much cooler. The guy that basically has a mohawk.
He does. His hair does get dyed white at a certain point.
Yeah, apparently Steve Martin was cursed by a witch. Holy shit.
And by dyed, I meant they lazily just like put some blonde white spray in his hair.
Oh, that was some fucking talcum powder, man.
So if you've never seen this movie, never seen a trailer, I will just paint a quick picture of the vibe of this film, which is basically if you took like a Miyazaki movie like Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle.
I was thinking about Miyazaki.
And you mix that with like a Hammer movie. It's not as cool as that sounds exactly.
Or I was thinking take an Ingmar Bergman film and mix it with like the first Evil Dead.
I was gonna
But
say
not as cool as
Bergman and Hausu combined,
Yeah, that's a
but
good one.
not cool like that until the end. Yeah.
Right.
The witch had a very just Miyazaki look to her, especially like in the beginning when we see her.
Also,
meeting
I
these
have a
three
feeling
friars.
a lot of this inspired a lot of anime and tokusatsu and stuff like that. I sent these guys a clip of Kamen Rider Amazon because I feel like the vibe of the villains is so close to the vibe of the monsters in this movie. And I swear the shots of when the monsters actually come out and it's the rotating shot of all of them around, I feel like I've seen that in anime or something before. Something Japanese before. So I feel like there's some kind of influence that crossed over down to the color palette that was used in this. Hausu has the same color palette as this movie. Like, exactly. Yeah. And, because it's really distinct and it really pops out. And, like, I would say, even though, like, a lot of the shots in the beginning are cribbed from Bergman, there's some dope cinematography in this movie as well.
Oh, it's a beautiful looking movie.
Yeah,
If nothing
they
else.
did some great work with this. It's just a little slow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell us the plot, Zach.
Oh,
You described the vibe.
I mean, I could give it a shot if you don't want to, Zach.
We did a good job of describing the vibe.
go for it, Casey. I want to hear you describe it.
All right, so all right. These monks break off from the crew that's kind of like bigger dickheads.
They're on monk spring break.
Yeah, and they're supposed to go meet up in Monk Fort Lauderdale, and eventually they break off from the group. These three guys, they stay with this old woman, and she kind of splits them up. And during this time, she starts messing with the mind of our main character, Koma, and she puts Koma in the camel clutch. She's gonna humble him the old country way, like the Iron Sheik. But then she starts riding him around because he stands up. He's like hulking up out of it, and he's like, "No, brother." And then he kind of has a Hogan-esque mustache too. And so she starts riding him around kind of like a bicycle and flying. And she has a broom in her hand. And he's like, "Put me down, bitch! Put me down!"
That was the most like Miyazaki part of the movie.
She turns him into like an ostrich, basically.
Yeah,
one that can fly. Like can ostriches fly?
No.
Yeah, so a flying ostrich.
I mean, not literally. He's just a dude, and she's riding on his shoulders.
Yeah, but he kind of looks like an ostrich.
And then he's like, "Put me down, bitch! Put me down!" And she's like, "No, no!" But eventually, she just kind of does. And so he grabs her broom and beats her to death with it. But then she turns into a beautiful woman and she's like, "You're killing me. Oh my God, you're killing me." And he's like, "Oh, fuck this shit." And he leaves and he goes back to the monastery. And this is supposed to be the big sin of the character, is lying and covering this up. And he gets back to the seminary and they're like, "Hey, look, this guy's daughter died and she requested you. Did you fuck her or something?" And he's like, "No, I didn't fuck this girl. Come on, no." And then because he keeps getting asked if he fucked this girl, but they keep saying, "Do you know this girl?"
This verbatim dialogue, folks.
Verbatim.
Yeah,
they keep saying, "Do you know this girl?" And he's like, "No, I've never known this girl in my life." But they're using it in the biblical sense, So they're saying, "Did you fuck my daughter?" Okay, so anyway, they send him to this town full of Cossacks and like traditional Cossacks, and this big, powerful man says, "Dude, I'll fucking kill you right now. You have to take vigil over my daughter's body for 3 days. And if you do it, I'll give you 1,000 gold. If you don't do it, I'll give you 1,000 lashes." So pretty clear choice which one you're going to take there, right? But as he's watching for the 3 days, things keep getting worse because originally night 1 seems pretty normal until the lady wakes up and starts dancing around the room, but he puts a circle of protection around himself. And God's protecting him. And then as the sun comes up, she points at him and wags a finger like, and then she just falls back in her coffin, which
so
is
she wakes up and
tremendous.
tries to like penetrate this barrier, and you get some pretty cool camera work where they're just going in like a circle and she's trying to like with her hands.
It's
like
cool at first. They do it 75 times and you start to get annoyed by it.
I was wondering if she was doing that with mime or because it's very convincing looking.
I think they just had a camera trying to keep up with her, which is pretty funny because he clearly isn't on a lazy Susan because her feet are moving. She's running.
She was going fast, man. I can't. They must have gotten sick filming that scene so many times. I mean, she's running really fast in a circle, trying to get in this like little prayer chalk circle that he's made, and it's just not happening.
She can't get in. First, when she gets out, she's blind. She can't see him, and she's stumbling around. Second night, she's more powerful, and she's not able to break the... I'm skipping interminable scenes between the nights where he's talking to the Cossacks over and over again. It's not important. Next night, she gets through his defenses, and she curses him, and she makes his hair white. Which is like, great protection circle, bro. But he's also lied a bunch of times in this point, so God's like getting mad at him. And then the next day, he goes crazy and starts dancing, and I think that's supposed to make God even more mad at him. Because the third night, shit goes down. And this is the last scene of the movie where all these demons, which are, some of them are little people, some of them are regular sized people, some of them are like half bat, some of them just look like goblins. They all start coming out of the woodwork. This scene is fucking awesome. And is worth seeing the whole movie.
She basically
for.
opens Pandora's box and just this giant curse and sends all these denizens of hell after him, basically.
Which it's like, hey, why not do that the first night?
Yeah.
You get hands shooting up out of the floor. You get
and they become
monsters.
giant hands that look fucking amazing surrounding them. Like, this scene is so cool. One of the coolest scenes in cinematic history. If you're gonna look at this movie, skip to the last 8 minutes. You will thank us all. Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, the context is important, and there's some great stuff like Kris and I were talking about as far as the vibe and the cinematography and all that. That stuff's great. But this is an hour and 16 minutes that gets good the last 8 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, like the second night before we get back to the third night, there is a really great scene where the coffin like floats in the air and is like banging against this like the circle that he's made and trying
Yeah,
to again penetrate it.
I really wanted like 60s like Beach Boy music to start playing at that
Yes.
point.
Surfing.
Oh yeah, she does coffin surf. Yes. She gets up in the coffin in a surfing stance, and she is surfing on the coffin. That is kind of amazing. So yeah, maybe watch the whole movie.
It just needed a little more progression like that. I wish the bulk of the movie had been these 3 nights and him trying to like gear up, and because that's a common trope in horror movies is your first encounter with the monster, the witch, whatever, and then you need to take a minute to collect yourself, and then you go back and prep yourself again, and it's like that's a common.
That's a lot of like drive-in movies of this era.
Yeah.
She's trying to tempt him in the original story. She just seems like she's trying to scare the fuck out of him in this one. Like, I get that it was the 60s and they might not have been able to show like a foul temptress, but come on.
Yeah, I mean it's very like prototypical of the drive-in horror movies of this era, where you're just like, we got some crazy stuff we're gonna put in there, gonna pretty much put all of our money and efforts into these couple scenes, and then the rest will just be filler. Like the kids can make out during that part.
Yeah, but like this is the Soviet Union. They didn't have movies like this at all. Some
That's
people are
true.
calling this
I don't know who this is
Soviet.
for.
Yeah, people are calling this the only Soviet horror movie. I'm like, there's no more?
This would have been a great Roger Corman film.
Yeah, it has that vibe, but like, I feel like the monsters are too good for him. Like, they're really good.
Yeah,
the ones that are the little people
in
creep the
movie.
shit out of me. They look like the fucking fish ghoulie, dude. But like, they're real people.
I was laughing my ass off in the last movie, so
Yeah.
especially when I
loved
saw
it.
V. I mean,
Also, if you watch this on Shudder, pretty fucking good sound mix on it as well.
yeah. So we did watch a dub, and dubs are always. I think this is pretty much on par with most of like the dubs I've seen on any foreign.
Yeah,
horror
if you
movie.
watch it on Shudder, it's the dub. If you watch it on Tubi, it's subtitled.
And it also is on YouTube, uploaded by the company that distributed the movie, MOS Film. It's in 4K on the YouTube channel. It looks exactly the same as the Shudder version to me, to my eye, but that is not dubbed. So if you want to watch it on YouTube,
Like
it's
I
there.
told you, Zach, fucking streaming 4K isn't really 4K.
Yeah.
It's 1080 with some HDR added to it.
I watched this on Shudder, and I thought it looked great.
Yeah, it did look good. It does look good. So, Koma was played by Leonid. Well, I'm not having to say these Russian names. Leonid Kirillov. And the witch, the young witch, was played by Pinochka. The character is Pinochka, played by Natalia Varley, but apparently she didn't do the voice, which is interesting.
Oh, because I think they gave the same voice to no, they didn't give the same voice to the old lady. Was the old lady a lady?
I think so.
Okay, because I was a little confused at first.
The witch was played by Nikolai Kutusov.
Okay, and that's a male name.
Well,
I guess
she's
so.
supposed to be female.
Yeah. But oh god, this was a fun one.
We haven't even talked about the titular V that shows up at the end of the movie.
We haven't. I was gonna say before we get to that, I wish that we'd gotten a few more sequences with like the 3 like Fryer brothers, basically the Coma's friends. We get like a couple scenes with the 2 of them at the end of the movie without Coma, but I would have liked to see more sequences with the 3 of them just because they were just buffoons.
I love how V looks because V reminded me of the 10-headed demon Golgos from Kamen Rider Amazon. Just in vibe, the face doesn't really look the same. I swear I fought this dude in a video game before, though. He looks very familiar.
He looks like one of the larger Muppets from the first season of the Muppet Show.
So I think what
Yes.
the last sequence of the movie, these demons are still unable to penetrate the circle, so she summons V, this great god.
And if you look at him in the eyes, you're fucked. It's like Mara on the Indiana Jones ride.
Yeah, and he's able to break get Coma to break the whatever the incantation he's put the circle, so the demons can attack him. And honestly, Como is a really unlikable character, so you're kind of just happy about it.
Yeah.
He's just, you're not really rooting for him. He's just such a doofus.
He really is.
He's so hapless, and he's not brave at all. And, you know, it's like, all he had to do is, like, this nice witch was just giving him a free ride across the country. And
This was,
Just enjoy the ride, my friend.
yeah, you just strap yourself in for this one.
so... So that was final thoughts, Kris. You really enjoyed this one. I know you gave it a pretty good rating on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I was digging this one. I just enjoyed the vibe. I enjoyed all the different areas that it went to. I mean, it's a beautiful looking film. So at times I felt like I was watching like some sort of like mysterious folk Soviet film. And then the other times I was just like, oh, this is great schlock. This is like drive-in schlock. It's so fun. But also just incredibly creative with its visuals and where it goes in the last act. So yeah, highly recommend. Watch this at midnight.
I did a 3 on
With friends.
Letterboxd. Depending on how many times I watched the end sequence, my rating might go higher than that, but it was a 3 for watching it once. I enjoyed it. 3's pretty good in my book. Like,
Same, yeah.
You should see a 3 if I give a 3. Yeah.
For sure. I was a 3 as well, mainly because I wanted more of the end. I just wanted a little more progression with the knights in this chapel trying to complete this, like, this chant, this prayer, and these sequences with the witch, and I just wanted a little more of that and less of the fireside chats with the Cossacks. But Kris, I think you gave it a 4, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. If you're a fan of stuff like Howl's Moving Castle and you want to see like a movie that has sequences that are very reminiscent of that live action, and you can't see the awesome looking live musical stage play adaptation of Spirited Away, which looks fantastic. Watch this; it's great. It's a good time. And again, check out the trailer for the 2014 one, which looks nuts and it's probably not as good. And yeah, so that was V. It's available on Shudder, on Tubi, on YouTube.
Worth
it a
watching.
watch.
I
Yeah.
mean, we gave you 2 free ways to watch it right now, so do it.
And
Yeah.
and don't be afraid of the dub version. It adds kind of to the atmosphere of the movie. It fits the.
And I think it's a little more
tone.
accurate to the story than the way the people are talking in the dub. Because I started watching the other one and then went to the dub when you said it was on Shudder.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what else is beautiful, Zach?
No, what's beautiful?
Going to haunts.
This is true.
Because we went to not just a haunt. We went to the ultimate haunted house. That's their slogan that's on their new t-shirt, which I did purchase.
They're lying, guys. I didn't go to any haunt.
They don't have any halfway to Halloween events out there in
I
Arkansas, Chris?
Stayed right here.
Arkansas, they think Halloween is the devil, dude.
They
They're
do.
not allowed to do that.
They do. They don't allow it here.
They just say happy fall, y'all.
They say, "Do you want to come to the church parking lot trunk or treat?"
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Chris, you put down roots there? Oh.
I'm trying to poison the well. That's my intention of putting roots down. I did unintentionally celebrate for today via my t-shirt, guys.
Oh, that's pretty sick. I am too. I've got my Midsummer Scream on.
Where's your Halloween t-shirt, Zach?
I didn't wear one today. So we went to Reign of Terror's halfway to Halloween event. If you've listened to the podcast, if you've been a listener for a while, you know that we've talked about Reign of Terror a couple times because we've been to their holiday overlay, which happened in December. That was the last time we were there. And of course, the first time we went was back in October. And Reign of Terror is a long-running haunt out in SoCal. It just took us a while to get to it. They're in Thousand Oaks, so I just been wanting to go for years. The pandemic hit, but finally went last year and went again in December because we enjoyed it so much in October for their holiday overlay. And and every April they have at least the last few years, they have a halfway to Halloween event where they kind of preview what they're planning for the fall. A lot of new additions. They change the layout. They do that. They change the layout every year.
Yeah.
And So we were very excited to see what new stuff they added, and man, I was very, very impressed with how much they actually changed and how much they, to me, improved what was already a fantastic haunt.
Okay, like I saw the improvements and I liked them, but I missed a couple things that they took out that I hope return for Halloween season. But I see why they're not there, because they were replaced by a giant ass animatronic that we won't spoil. So, because that was a moment seeing that. But
Biggest
yeah.
animatronic I have ever seen. And I think that's the thing with haunts that have lots of animatronics like this one. You are kind of subject to whoever the group you're with and whoever's in front of you. There's always a different sort of flow depending on the group you're with. It was just the three of us. We were grouped with one other individual who was by himself, and we let him lead. And he took a slower pace, which was fine because I got to really enjoy the scenery.
Yeah, we got to absorb it this time, which was cool.
Yeah.
I was at the very back of the line. The monsters weren't even fucking with me. Yeah.
The thing is with the thing is in groups, like the animatronics are on timers. You can see like literally going through this hunt, you can see like the things that like activate the animatronics. You can see there's sort of like little circular things sometimes that'll activate them. But someone's going to miss the scare. You know, that's just how it is with a haunt, especially one with a lot of animatronics. And there's still plenty of
that person was definitely me this time.
Yeah. I'm usually been going in first with these haunts, and so...
And I'm usually second, and I feel like second and third, like that's a good place. Because I've been first to a bunch of them, and the ones that I'm first of, they scare the people behind me every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's so I'm sorry that Casey missed some of the scares this time. As far as the additions, a couple of the ones that they removed, and I don't want to spoil too much, but there was one room that was like a blinding white room that when you would enter, and so you couldn't see anything. Like you literally had to like put your hands in front of you and walk very slowly. There's like nothing in the room. They don't even try and scare you in that room because it's so like blinding. They don't want you to get hurt. Yeah. And I think they probably removed that because it probably really slowed down the flow of the maze and just people going through. And I think
it also is where that animatronic is, though.
Are you sure it's the same room?
Yeah, that's because it was the ending of that section. Yeah,
because they greatly expanded. They have a whole clown section. They added like a really big section with some cool ass balloons. Again, we won't spoil everything. Lots of cool new like props and figures.
They're more effective in using existing animatronics too. I feel like we were a lot closer to some of the rampaging zombie animatronics than we were.
I think Casey had mentioned to me that they removed, which I forgot about. Some mazes will like to use this like an inflatable sort of tunnel that you have to go through and push your way through. It feels like you're digging through a worm or something. I'm not that, like, those are fine. That kind of gag doesn't do a ton for me necessarily, so I didn't mind that it was gone, but they did remove that.
It's also the room that was after the blinding room, so that was or before it. They were connected. And I think, or was the push through room after the rotating bridge?
I don't remember the exact layout, but I'm really impressed at how easily it seemed to be for them to maneuver things and change the layout, because that cannot be easy. There are so many different parts there. Like, it's not like, Tetris where you're just like moving one room and putting another one. Like, they completely have to like probably dismantle things, and like that is not easy to like disassemble, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure they have tricks after years of doing it, but
well, you got to figure they've got a 135 room haunted house in what was once a store. And they still have to account for backstage areas for the actors as well. And every room has some kind of backstage entrance. So yeah, it's really interesting. They must have done some real mad scientist shit to be able to plot this out and get it working. And run power to everything. You know how hard that's got to fucking be? Like,
so much electricity. Through this maze. But they had like a really extended, they have several like graveyard scenes, but they had a really extended one that they added that looks great. They really, I think, doubled down on all their theming. It felt much more kind of cohesive in that like they really felt like really definitive sections.
See, I was wondering if that's because we went through slower, or if
I really felt like they upped the decor, like their environmental decor was already great, but I really felt like they just doubled down on that. They added like a shower section to this prison cell entrance. That
was there.
Was it there before?
Yeah, I was there every time. Yeah,
I didn't remember that section. I felt like they added a lot more like air geysers and things like that that'll like puff at you, and lots of more water sprays and things like that. they added like a whole like collapsing roof section during I think was it the mine or like shortly after the mine area. And so again,
It felt like the mine was
Yeah.
extended
Yeah.
quite a bit. Yeah.
I was really impressed with the improvements and the tweaks they made to the layout. It felt, as someone who's been in it recently in the last 6 months twice already, this I felt was my favorite run through as far as just the improvements they made. The scare actors are all really on point. I really liked all the new figures and stuff like that. And I've been told they're still adding things, but they definitely added some big new props. And
Yeah.
I was really just again, it's so well run and so well put together. I know they're still making tweaks to it. Play either told me they are, but I'm very excited to see it again in October and see what they change. Chris, you have to, if you come out during the fall, you have to check out Reign of Terror and Thousand
Yeah, they
Oaks,
open
man.
in September again. And they basically run every weekend and also Mondays, I think. Or no, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And big shout out to not only all the characters in the maze, but the ones that work the crowd and the line outside the haunt. They are phenomenal, and I wish I got to see more of them. But there was a point where they were like peeking outside of a kind of construction fence, and they're like in front of a cop car, and like I just like turned and looked, and you literally just see like a clown girl head. She's just peeking out of this fence because we were wondering when they were going to show up.
No, then we look
And,
over, we just see a hand holding an axe picking out from behind. Oh,
Yeah,
God,
it was
so
great.
great.
It was great. So that is Reign of Terror in Thousand Oaks, California at Jan's Marketplace. Absolutely worth the drive if you're like in Burbank or Glendale.
Yeah, the halfway to Halloween thing's over. It was a 2-night event only. They're opening back up in September.
Yeah.
I loved being a scare actor. It's one of my favorite jobs I've ever had.
I wish I could have seen you as a scare actor, Chris. I saw pictures, but I didn't get to see it in person. I think the one time I tried to do that at Terror Tram, I think I chose the wrong path or something, and you weren't there.
You only had probably about a 25% chance of seeing me throughout the night, depending on which path you took. And I don't know how it was there, but at Universal Studios, they give you plenty of breaks.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
if you're wearing a mask, you fucking need it.
Well,
brutal.
yeah, Universal, your union. I don't know about the union requirements of haunted houses that are run independently and not part of a theme park. But oh man, this was cool. Yeah, I can't recommend this enough. I admit I haven't been to as many haunts as I should in my life because I hate waiting in line for things. But this is the best haunt I've ever went to. And every time we go, we buy the front of the line pass, and it's been worth it every single time, in my opinion.
It feels very long. So if like that isn't your thing, like
We timed it. I timed it. It was exactly a half hour this time.
ours was definitely longer because of the wonderful gentleman that was in front of us. That was certainly just taking his time and wanted to enjoy everything. But he was going at a very leisurely pace. We would have shaved at least 5 minutes off of that for sure. But
I kind of liked how it was.
yeah, I didn't mind. Except for the fact
I'm glad
that
he
you missed
didn't
some
run
scares.
through when we were supposed to stick
Yeah.
with our group, right? Like, yeah, it's totally great.
So it's going to be definitely, every group is going to have a different pace, but it's definitely a long hunt. And this felt like this was definitely the longest walkthrough we'd had of it. And so I feel like they definitely extended some things, but I really enjoyed it. It's such a good time. And I'm eager to kind of compare it to other haunts around the country whenever I get around to checking out some of the more renowned ones like the Darkness and Netherworld and stuff in different parts of the country that I've heard so many good things about. But all right, there was a big horror release this April. I think there was a couple, but Evil Dead Rise came out, and it's another entry in the Evil Dead series. I know Casey has yet to see it because he has not been able to get to the movies recently, but Chris and I saw it. So Chris, what were your thoughts on Evil Dead Rise?
It's got a terrible title.
I thought it was Evil Dead Rises.
Yeah.
It comes up and it's Evil Dead Rise, and I was like,
I really
oh.
think there's like a dartboard somewhere in Hollywood, and when they can't figure out what to call a sequel, they just throw a dart, and it'll usually end up either on the word rise or the word darkness or dark.
Well, Rise
into
is
darkness.
grammatically correct, Zach.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense. I mean, the Evil Dead originally wasn't a great title, and like it's fine now, but like,
Well, it's become iconic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've read like Sam Raimi hated that title when he was first suggested.
Yeah,
to
I
him.
don't think Evil Dead Rise is going to become as iconic. It's just doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
No, as a title, no. But the movie,
Evil Dead ... Rise.
the movie is fun. It is a fun time at the movies.
We all can't be. All movies can't be fat guy goes nutsoid. You know. The peak title of a movie has already been achieved, so it's just downhill.
Where do you like kind of rank this in the Evil Dead franchise, Kris? I mean, what were your general thoughts on it, and how did you like coming out of the theater? I mean, how did it sit with you?
There were like things I thought were sorry. I don't know why that got you.
It just was funny.
There's like it's like good. It's like solid. Like I liked all the characters. The performances are super solid. Our lead, who is kind of our like lead Deadite, really carries the movie. Does an amazing job. It's a different location, which I appreciated. We got set up in a different location. It's like different enough to where it's like kind of feels a little bit more fresh. But at the same time, I still feel the same way I did with the 2013 Evil Dead, which is I miss the funniness. I feel like there could be a little bit more camp, or at least like the Evil Dead remake kind of set a tone, right? Like it kind of
it was just a mean movie.
What the original Evil Dead was going for, which is just like brutal, gore, intensity, and this one is more or less the same tone. So if you didn't like the tone of that last one, you might not like this one. There's like a little bit more humor, but not much. I kind of wanted them if they were going to make a sequel to that one to make it, like mirror Evil Dead 2, like make it even zanier, make it even crazier. Didn't quite do that, but I still think it's like I had a decent amount of fun for like the hour and a half that I was in the theater watching this.
Did you like it more or like less or on par with the 2013 version? Because I need to rewatch that because it's been a minute.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched it in a long time. Yeah. I haven't rewatched it in a long time, but just from what I remember of it, I think I like this one a little bit more, just because I think this one's a bit more memorable. There's stuff in it that I think sticks out a little bit more. It's a little bit more creative, I think.
Yeah, I mean, tonally, I think this is in between like the original Evil Dead and that 2013 remake. It's definitely, the Deadites definitely have more of the personality of like the original Evil Dead, which I appreciated. It's just not as campy as like Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness. And it's hard to be like that without Bruce Campbell, really. He really is what brings that, along with like Raimi, of course. But it's just and Ted Raimi too. It's
a shame that Raimis. Bruce doesn't want to do it, because they so could have fit him in here, even in a small role. Like,
oh, he could have been like a neighbor in the apartment,
or he could have been like a third act reveal, like just fuck it, bring Ash back and like have it be a third act reveal, and don't make him like the central character. Just give him. I'm just like kind of fuck it at this point. I'm like, give me some fan service.
I know, but just imagine how great that would have been if like it was revealed that he lives in this like condemned apartment building. And he's just one of their neighbors. Just happens to be Ash, guy
that would
who's
be
fit
fun.
to fight. That would have been cool, like just surprise.
Or if he's just playing another character.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
I think the thing I enjoyed most about this movie was the setting change. So it takes place in a condemned apartment building that's going to be shut down, so the family that lives there has to move out soon. And it's just, as much as The Cabin in the Woods it's iconic, it's classic, it's great, I think moving this franchise somewhere else, obviously Ash vs. Evil Dead did that as well. But as far as the film franchise, I think it was really a welcome change, because they really make good use of the space. You have the apartment that the family is in. You have the hallway where you meet a bunch of neighbors, and they do not hold back killing some of the neighbors. No spoilers, but they don't hold back there. And there's also the parking lot. There's a big elevator sequence. So they definitely make use of the building. There's a stairwell. So like it was, I was happy for the change of scenery. I would have liked a little more creativity as far as the death scenes a bit. They're simple, they're effective, but they're intense. This is really just kind of,
there were like a couple of things that made me squirm, but a couple of things that just don't, because I'm sorry, like someone eating candy glass is not really going to bug me, because I know it's candy glass.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked it like maybe like a possessed hand kind of sequence or something, which is a nod to. I mean, I don't need everything to be a nod to the others. I should watch the others.
It doesn't get much more creative beyond people turn into deadites and then people the really gross and horrible stuff happens to people.
Give me like a possessed foot. That would have been a fun.
Well, then again, I say that, but the ending does have a bit of a climax.
They do try and throw a little some
extra thing
extra
into the
oomph in
lore.
there. Yeah. So it's if you're looking for like really over the top monsters and all that kind of stuff like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness have, you're not going to get that here. It's very like suspenseful, creepy, eerie, a little campy, but not to that extent. Really, most of that comes from Alyssa Sutherland's Ellie, who's playing the main deadite in this movie, and she certainly has some really fun dialogue, especially with the daughters and so the two
I will
daughters
say,
and a
like,
brother.
they introduce like our kind of main characters, which we have this mother character who has 3 kids, 2 teenagers, and like a younger daughter, and then her sister who's like a roadie or guitar tech who's been out on the road, who's basically come home to come visit. So that's kind of how like all the events kind of get put into motion of how these people come together. And I did like this family, and I was kind of like, oh man, I don't really want bad stuff to happen to them. And they do not pull punches on bad shit happening to them.
No, I think I just again wanted a little more. I didn't necessarily need more gore because there's plenty gore. I just wanted a little more finesse, or I guess creativity with some of the death sequences. I wanted to be a little more surprised by what happened. It was sort of, okay, that happened. Like, it was, but this is a good movie. It's a good time. It's certainly very suspenseful. You're never going to be bored with this. I think it's a solid addition to the Evil Dead franchise. For me, it's probably, I have to watch the 2013 version again, but I kind of had a similar reaction then. Like, yeah, that was good. And they are kind of making some lore here, because they do reference that the Necronomicon that is found in this movie there's 2 others that are like it. So referencing the 2013 one and then the one in the original Evil Dead series and Ash vs. Evil Dead, I assume, as well.
Okay.
So
I wasn't even sure if this was like a direct connected movie to the 2013 one.
No, it is. They're apparently supposed to be all in the same universe based off that.
Okay.
So if they do a big mashup, that would be fun. I would like to see that.
Sure.
Why not? Because Ash vs. Evil Dead should not have ended there. It was way too good to end there. But this is good. Casey, definitely check it out when you can. You don't have to rush to a theater to see it, but support.
Oh, don't worry, I won't.
Support horror. It's a really good movie, and the cast is great. I did like everyone. Lily Sullivan as Beth is another good kind of final girl character, and again, no Bruce Campbell. I guess he has a voice cameo in this movie.
Yeah, he has a voice cameo,
which I didn't even recognize. So
Henrietta cameo. Did you catch that one, Zach?
At the end of the movie, or
no? Henrietta's Pizza.
Oh, I
pizza
totally missed that.
It says Henrietta's Pizza on the pizza box.
Well, that's the least appetizing pizza I could think of.
You don't want a Ted Raimi pizza?
No, you don't want the Henrietta pizza. You know what? You know where that milk came from for that cheese?
Anyway, Evil Dead Rise, directed by Lee Cronin, which I have not seen Lee Cronin's other film, The Hole in the Ground, but looking forward to see what else he does. Yeah. And yeah, he did a good job with this. So yeah. So that was Evil Dead Rise. Still have not seen Beau is Afraid. I know you saw that, Kris.
I did.
30 seconds or less, how was
holy shit. Not technically a horror movie, but like just like some of the most anxious stuff I've ever seen on film, to the point where you're like, it's kind of hilarious, but also just kind of like, terrible. I witnessed a car wreck on the way home from the theater.
Oh my god!
And it felt appropriate.
Oh, that's terrible.
Damn.
I was like, that was kind of the vibe of the night.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even know if I liked it. I appreciated it. I don't know if I can recommend it to people.
Okay, before we wrap up Witch Month, I'm just gonna ask you guys, throw a little hypothetical out there for you. This is probably stupid hypothetical, but if you had to insert a witch into like your favorite horror franchise or a horror movie of your choosing, what would you what would you choose? Like a prominent role. Can't be just like a one scene. There's a witch in this scene. Like she has to do something, or he could be a male witch. Why not? Or,
Okay, so the twist of Halloween is that the reason that Laurie Strode is so introverted is because she's actually a witch. And at the end of the movie, she puts a spell on Michael Myers and makes his head blow up.
okay.
That's the best I could come up with off the top of my head.
Um,
You didn't prep us, Zach.
I know.
I would have Mrs. Voorhees be a witch and do like a ritual to bring Jason back to life.
I mean, there was already kind of a witch character in what is it? Friday 7, Part 7, with the
Carrie.
No,
She's psychic.
scary,
not a
dude.
witch.
Yeah.
She's got Carrie powers.
Yeah, it's just psychic shit. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, your typical teenage psychic. That would, though, Casey, give us a little bit more continuity to the Friday the 13th movies.
Yes, but I don't think you're allowed to use Mrs. Voorhees anymore. I don't know.
Well,
it's,
that's a
it's
shame.
all weird again. It's all weird.
It's all
again.
weird again.
All right. Well, that was
Okay,
which
so
month?
we gotta
was
we
which
gotta
month,
roll for our
everybody?
next month, dude.
We
Oh,
do.
no.
Oh,
Okay, so
boy.
what's our number looking at?
You can still just do like if you want to just roll a 50-sided die, and we have 1 to 42, and there's 3 crossed off. So
Okay, so I'll do a 39-sided die. Okay. You can do it digitally; it works.
wait, no, there's 40. Well, yeah, you can do 39. That's fine.
Roll a D39. Here we go.
Wait, no, don't do that because that's not going to line up with all the numbers. So just do 50 or.
How many numbers do we have?
We have 42 right now. And
Okay,
if
so
you roll one that we
D42.
already picked, then
The number, it's rolling. It's rolling. It's rolling. It's not stopping. 31.
okay, sure.
Oh, no. You sound so excited, Zach.
No, it's fine. We'll find some stuff. This is such a generic one. I think this was one of Casey's. So next, next month we're gonna be taking a look at movies that are set in old castles.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, castle horror movies. So
Yes.
Okay.
classic setting. It's probably gonna be a lot of Amicus and Hammer and stuff like that.
Maybe.
So that is what we landed on, number 31. So
Yes.
Vincent Price movie.
Well, yeah, that's specifically the one I had in mind.
Okay.
We'll talk about it off the air.
all right, so let's end this thing. So you can follow us on Instagram at AMP Horror. We are on Twitter as well at that same handle, and YouTube, of course. Make sure to subscribe to us there, and any streaming platform you listen to us on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That would really help us out. Kris, where can they find you?
I'm on the Twitter at Kris Pistol with a K and a E at the end of the name, and the Letterboxd and the YouTube.
Kris watches movies. You just released a new one, right?
I did. If you want to watch 8-minute long videos about cinema history, go to my YouTube channel.
Kris watches movies.
Indeed.
And so he's doing like a year, like a history of cinema year by year, which is very impressive undertaking.
Yeah, I will be done in 50 years.
And you can find episodes of his Disney podcast with his wife Melody there as well.
Indeed.
Casey, you're nowhere now, right? Casey is no longer on Twitter, everybody. Just a heads up. But
Casey
you are on
just
Letterboxd,
reads in his
right?
room. You can find Casey in his room reading.
Yeah, dude, read some Richard Lehman. One of the ones that's not fucked up. I can give you recommendations, but you can't hit me up anywhere. If you need to talk to me, email the show. Zach will forward it. You can find me on Letterboxd, though, at Lucha Gringo on Letterboxd.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, but follow me on Instagram at Earth2Zach, Earth2Zach,
Because
or
you said that they're
Letterboxd.
going to do the opposite.
I don't use my personal Twitter that much outside of, I mean, I use it, but not to post except for retweeting stuff. But on Instagram, I'm certainly active, as well as Letterboxd. So Earth2Zach, Earth2Zach. And yeah, so that was our episode this month. I hope you're all having a wonderful spring. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
No. Just this castle thing might get a little freaky, if you know what I'm saying.
That was one I thought of for sure. Okay, guys, we will see you next month We are going to some castles. So, is there some Monty Python music I can insert here to?
No, just play the Benny Hill music instead. It goes with everything.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
Goodbye.